Today I'm going to show you step by step how to create this 3D motif embroidery. So if you had attended the Printwear Promotions show earlier on in the year here in the UK and you visited the AS Colour stand, or you should have visited the AS Colour stand, you may have seen these hats that we did on display. Now, since that show, I've had conversations with 3-4 other print shops. We've actually even done some custom digitizing for other print shops of this same style embroidery. So I thought I'm going to jump on, make a video showing exactly how we create these 3D motif logos. So let's jump into Wilcom and I'll take you step by step through how we created this logo. Let's go. Right, so here we are in Wilcom. Now, I just need to start off by saying, I've just done a quick test of this screen recording and it doesn't show when I use the keyboard. It doesn't show my keystrokes. So I'm going to try and do everything with the mouse. So if you see me flailing around with the mouse, trying to find buttons, just know I'm trying to keep it all visual for you guys. If I do happen to go muscle memory and start hitting keystrokes, I will try and remember to let you know the shortcut keys that I have used. So with that being said, let's get into it. The first thing we're going to do is import the artwork. So nice and straightforward, import graphic, all laid out. Look, here's one I made earlier, and let's get that in there. This should be to size, yeah, so typically this one height with 40mm height, 55mm wide gives us a nice size for the hat. We're going to lock that artwork to the artboard. There we go. Right, jumping straight in. Contrary to what is said on the internet, there are many ways to digitize a logo. Dare I say there's no right and wrong way to do this, providing the end result is a nice clean stitch and your client is happy. It is very much a job well done. I want to try and talk through a couple of tricks and tips that I do here. And the first one is right at the very start. We're going to select run stitch. So we've got our logo nice and center. Typically with hats, you want to be working, you know, inside out. So from the inside of the logo out. And if you've got, you know, more letters, you're starting on the inside, working the letters this way, working the letters back that way. It just keeps everything nice and straight on the hat. The first action I want the machine to take is to drop the needle. And the reason being is because if you're using a multi-head and you're balancing foam on the top of every hat, and you hit go, and the first action of the machine is it spins all the way around and it starts stitching over here in the corner somewhere. All your foam's going to fall off and it's just a nightmare. Yes, you can sit there and you can sellotape your foam on. I've seen people use elastic bands, etc. And there's ways around it. Obviously, if you're using a single head machine, you can sort of stand there and just hold the foam until it gets going. Great. However, production setting, multi-head machines, I don't want to be wasting loads of tape. I don't want the additional admin of elastic banding, foam to the hat, etc. The way around it is you want the machine to drop the needle with minimal movement of the hat. So the first stitch we're going to do in this hat is right there. So the second we hit go on the machine's going to move maybe 1mm, 2mm, drop the needle. Now we've got that foam and one stitch in it. It shouldn't fall off. So from there, we get going. So we've selected run stitch. The first thing we're going to do is put some end caps in this design. I'm going to try and do this one with minimal cuts and trims, so it's nice and efficient, and we can get a good production run on it. So working through, just a quick touch on run stitches, taking this way back to basics is right and left clicks. Your left clicks are your straights. And then if you want to start turning some corners, we're going to be hitting right clicks and getting some nice curves on our stitches. So flying through this, let's get going. Let's just put some run stitches around here. We're going to go to right clicks to get around this bend. Now I want to end up over here in this corner, just a little bit in from the edge and not really protruding out just yet. So this is just a run stitch to get me round from the center all the way around to where we're going to place our first end cap. So here we go. End caps. We're going to select close shape. You want your end cap a couple of mil in from the edge and just protruding out a couple of mil. You can get into, without sort of getting too deep into it, there's certain things that if we've got the machine and the machine direction is stitching round and up to the end cap, we will have the end cap just poking out a slight bit more, just so no stitches sort of fall over the end of the end cap and almost like fall off of the 3D foam, if you like. That can cause you a problem. But with this one, we shouldn't have too much trouble with it. There's only a couple of end caps that we need. And this, again, is how I would place these end caps on this design. So we've selected close shape again up here. Couple of mil in, couple of mil out. We're just going to put a straight line across there. And there's no real science to this. I mean, you can have pre-templates made up and copy and paste your end caps in. But yeah, it doesn't, sort of this stage, it doesn't need to be perfect. We can always edit things at a later date. So let's just whack this end cap in here. We're going to sort of bevel the edges a bit coming in. Now, the reason we do this is, just hit enter there. Reason we do this is, if you was just to run it square, what we find is we get a bit of a build up in this corner, foam sort of gets squished out of this corner, and you end up having to get sort of a little pick out and prod it all back in. Now, if you bevel the edges slightly, we do tend to see a lot less sort of build up in these corners. So we've got the outline there of our end cap. Let me not use keystrokes. Let me go up here. So we're just going to select our object. Currently in an outline stitch. Let's change that to a satin stitch. There we go. So, stitch values. Now the first thing we're going to do is change this to a 0.18, and the reason we do this is because we want it to match the stitch that's going to go over the top, and ultimately it's going to give us a nice clean cut edge right along there, especially when we change the stitch angle in a second. So 0.18, hit enter. I always take off auto split for 3D stuff. I just habit. Right, and the next thing you're going to do, and the most important thing, is you need to take off your underlay settings. We're basically putting the underlay in ourselves. We don't need any underlay underneath any of this. It will just stamp down the foam too much, and it's just not needed. So we'll take off auto underlay. The pull compensation settings are fine. Sort of everything else is absolutely fine. So, nearly there. Let's change our stitch angle on that. Control H, or found the button down here. Hit your stitch angle, and we'll just run that nice and straight, so we get that beautiful straight edge along the bottom there. Change our stitch angle. Now, if you want to be really fancy, you can put on some jagged edges, and sometimes I like to do this maybe if I'm feeling a little bit extra. Now what it does is, let's just flick this round. Got these settings here, so I'm just whipping through this because it's non-essential really, but it's just something that I thought I'd show you because I like to do it. So typically that would be the settings. Can pull these in a bit. Let's just chamfer that a bit more, and I kind of like that jagged edge with it reaching out in some stitches. I feel like it just creates sort of a nice fade off into our stitches that are going over the top. But again, non-essential. I just kind of like to do it. It feels cool. So back to the important bits. What you want to do is, so your start stitch there is fine. Now we want our stop, and we're going to place that off over here somewhere. Don't worry too much about what it does to the stitch pattern there. It's fine as long as we've got a nice straight edge along the bottom there. We're going to grab our run stitch tool, and we're going to continue on our path. Let me just zoom out a bit and let's just fly around here, and we're going to go all the way around. Let me just change that to a straight, sorry, right. And we're going to get up to about here. Now, what I'm going to do here is, it's again probably a little bit extra, you don't really need it, but it's good practice. So I'm going to build sort of a block, like the end cap we just done. I'm just going to build a block in here. And the reason being is I want it to sort of hold these two areas together. Sometimes, you know, this is good practice. If you didn't and you started your stitch here, went all the way around, you will find that your sort of substrate or whatever, your material has pulled apart and you're seeing little tiny gaps in your stitches. So to keep everything nice and tight, I'm just going to put a little block of stitches in here, little zigzag stitch, almost like my own little underlay. And let's crack on with that. So again, our stitches ended there. Let's just start this box. Let's just go round somewhere here. Again, nothing to, let's just square that off. Grab our object selection tool. We're going to fill that with a satin stitch. Yeah, this one I'm just going to leave. That can just stay like that. We don't need to do anything fancy. I don't need it you know, too much. I don't need to drop that to a 0.18 because this is almost just like a little block of underlay for us. Nice, good practice, just holding these two seams together that are going to be here. The one thing I want to do is check where our start and end points are. So we've got a start point there, lovely. Let me just grab the end point, and what I want to do is I want it to finish over here. So again, the machine still hasn't stopped. We've come all the way around, it's gone straight into this, it's going to finish up here, and this is where the fun begins. So we're going to grab our Digitize column tool over here, select that, satin fill, and then you want to, if this is selected on yours, the auto underlay, you want to turn off auto underlay. We don't want any of that. So ignore all of this spacing stuff for the minute. We will sort that very soon. Now we're going to start just along here. I want this, so as we work our way around, I want there to be an overlap just here. Not too much, but I want it to overlap and tie in together nicely and almost look like this column is coming out from underneath that, swooping round. That's sort of the vision that I've got so far. So let's get cracking. Left and right clicks on column stitches or on this column fill. So left clicks give us the straights and the right clicks get us around them lovely curves. Now this line that is following my mouse is stitch direction. So wherever I place that, you know, that's going to be the stitch direction. We don't need to worry about it too much because again we can edit everything afterwards. We'll get it, you know, 90% there, but we can also edit afterwards. So let's hit some straight stitches, a straight stitch there, and now on this side I'm going to start to use the right click and add some curves in here, and again that line following me is where the stitches are going to be, and we want to turn this corner, you know, nicely with the stitches. So I don't want to be placing these nodes over here or too close. You sort of got a vision where you want these stitches to turn this corner nicely. So we're going to sort of place this about here. And again, it's nothing to stress about. We can edit all of this afterwards. So now I'm right clicking both sides to get this corner. You'll see the corner catch up, and I do sort of, this one's going to be a little bit close here because I do want these stitches to start turning a bit straighter here, but again I'm sort of doing this while talking and I cannot multitask to save my life. Normally when we're creating these logos, or when I'm creating these logos, I am headphones on and sort of in the zone, but we will just whip around this. Let's just get around this so it doesn't take forever. Yeah, I'm going to start adding a straight there. Let's keep going around this corner. So now This is where our overlap comes in. I'm just going to run a straight all the way to this outside edge here, and you'll think, oh, I've got a massive overlap going on here. We will edit that later and get it all nice and neat. So for the minute, bear with me. We're going to keep right clicking over here, turning these corners. These stitches are going to be quite long here, but it's not too much of an issue. So let's just get these stitches nice and straight while we're turning this corner. I'm going to start to turn here. Now we're right clicking both sides. So in this sort of column thing, you just takes a bit of getting used to. It takes a bit of sort of like, you know, visioning where you want, you know, where you want these stitches and where you want these turns to go. But we never get it perfect first time. We'll go back and we'll edit these logos. Sometimes spend way too long editing these logos if you're someone like myself, and sort of the OCD of it all kicks in and it's spend hours changing stitch patterns. But that's fine. So to end this off, I'm going to end this. You might see I just ended this short there on a right click. We're now going to a left click. I want a nice straight edge along here. Obviously our end cap is still protruding out slightly, giving us a nice straight edge there as well. Let's hit that and hit enter. So there we go. First letter created. Let's go to our object selection tool, O on the keyboard, or just up here, your regular mouse thing. Right, turn off auto spacing, turn off auto split. Instantly miles better. Spacing, let's turn this to our 0.18. You can use a 0.20, you can go down to a 0.15. I think I've even seen someone do a 0.12. It just depends on personal preference, you know, the sort of the width of these logos and these columns, etc., what substrate you're going on. But typically I find a 0.18 is a good place to start. So 0.18. Right. Now let's go back to our reshape tool. So let's grab that. So now what I was talking about is you can see where that line was following my mouse, it's added a stitch angle. And we can now adjust. So sort of like here, there's a weird sort of bump thing going on here. Don't really like that. Fine. Stitch angle's a little bit off. Let's drag that stitch angle and let's change these stitch angles here. Other than that, I mean, it's not too bad. We could spend a long time going around this, sorting it all out. But actually, you don't, you know, just drag these nodes around, just sort of take this humpy bit thing down here, probably pull that in a bit. Yeah, right, let's not get too caught up on that. Let's show you this overlap here. So we got this nice overlap here, and you can see it looks like sort of this column is coming out from underneath there. All I'm going to do is just grab these nodes, nice and simply grab them, and I'm just going to pull them down here. So there's still a bit of an overlap, but you know, nothing too drastic. And then don't forget, actually way underneath all of this, we've got that box under there embroidered in. Just holding it all together, holding the foam together, etc. Stopping these two elements here, just pulling apart and keeping it all nice and solid there. But without getting too carried away with any of this, it's not looking too bad. It's not looking too bad. So what we'll do is let's just go to our select object tool. Right, there we go. So that's our first letter done. So what we want to do is now grab the A, the bit that we've just done, an easy Control C, Control V, and we've created a copy now over the top of what we've just done. So let's move that back there. Now this is how we create the 3D motif. This is, I guess, the reason we're all here. So you've created your copy, and you're simply just going to go up. This is literally a click of a button, and there's our motif. Oh, there we go. Well, my settings are already there from the last time I've done this. So there's loads of different options, and I've been through loads of these. I really have tested loads of these. The lacework stuff is quite cool, but again, you need to be doing it on sort of massive sort of back pieces and things like that. Working on a hat, single motif works beautifully. So select your single motif, and again, I've kind of looks like a cop-out, gone with number 1, but I have actually generally been through. If you follow us on Instagram, you will see I do a lot of testing, and I have been through loads of these and tried all these weird and wonderful shapes. But I always get drawn back to Kite 01, which is our standard cross stitch over the top. Me personally, it looks nice and clean, looks classic, and it every time your needle sort of stabbing in all of these, it's creating like a nice cross section over the top of our 3D letter there. So the next thing we're going to do to this is, obviously we've got this sort of horrible overlay bit going on here. Nice and simply, up to arrange, shaping, and the only one you can select is combine. So select it. There you go. That's got rid of that overlap bit that we done there. Now, before I run ahead, let's just quickly check where our start and end points are. So our start and end points are obviously opposite to where we want them to be. So we just flick them around nicely. So that's going to start there. And I guess, let me just check, but it should be a case of, yeah, exactly. So the letter A is going to go all the way around and is going to finish there, and then we're going to jump straight into the 3D motif over the top, which is going to start there. So again, there's still no trims in this yet. But since this started, the machine started with the run stitch round, done the end cap there, come all the way back round, done a little box there, went straight into starting the satin stitch all the way around, and has then gone straight into the 3D motif. So there's actually 0 trims in creating that so far. And then again, number 1, let's just turn that to black, and that is the first letter done. Now, there's, you know, straight into the S, it's very much the same thing. Yes, you could copy this, reflect it, put the little, you know, put the little gap there, and it could be job done. But we're not going to do that. I'm going to bore you with the whole thing all over again. So we're going to start, and I'm going to, again, drop the needle. I mean, obviously, we don't have to worry too much about the foam falling off because it is well and truly stitched on there now. But I'm going to keep it nice and close. I'm going to start here, and we're just going to hammer some run stitches round, and I'm going to drop them in that outside corner once again. So do we have to do the end caps? I could go through and show you the end caps again, or you can just, we've already done one, so Control C, Control V. Let's drag it over here, plop that on there, make sure it's just sticking out ever so slightly. Let's just change it to green so we're working in the same colour. Only thing you need to do is settings H, right, we want that to start there, and I want it to end there. No, I don't want to start down there. Right, end there. Back to run stitches. Let's go. Oh, God, what have I done? Back to run stitches. Let's just go all the way around. And we're going to do the same thing over here. End that there. Going a bit slow, so now it's all thinks it's going to join itself up. Do not worry, we will not let it do that. Digitize closed shape. Let's actually stitch this one in. Now this gap here is actually going to be quite small, so what I'm going to do is, let me just move this out of the way for the minute. What I'm going to do is we're going to widen this gap because that's going to be very small. And it's probably, by the time we put an end cap on here and the stitches sort of close up a little bit, there's going to be nothing there. So I'm actually going to, you know, make this logo, make this gap here just a slight bit bigger. So I'm now ignoring the artwork that we've locked to the artboard, and I'm going to say I want this logo to end here. So I'm going to put the end cap right here. Now, even though this is on a weird angle, we still do the same situation, and we still put our end cap in like that. Again, it thinks it's going to link up. Do not worry about that. O, or select object, fill that with some satin, put that down to a 0.18, take off auto split if you wish. Obviously, always triple checking underlays not selected. Control H or stitch angles. Let's just drag that stitch angle sort of a bit straighter there. We can add on our fancy jagged edges if we want to side 1. Let's just pull them down a bit, make them not so crazy. I like doing this. So yeah, it's sort of a nice little filter out. Let's just go back, grab this run stitch. We want that to start up there, back down to this thing. We want to just select in our start and end. So I always do that, I always grab the start. Right, so that's going to start up there, end here. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not. What I want to do is I want to end that, I think, over here. So, and the reason being, we're going to end that there because we're going to go straight in to our column and we're going to start right here. So I want to bring this down so we've got this end cap just protruding out a little bit, and we're going to start going straight over the top with our column stitches and our satin stitch over the top. So I'm just going to end that there before we start turning the corner here. It's going to be some longest stitches here, but don't worry. Again, all of this can be edited, so it's sort of a case of just whipping round here, and we can adjust all these stitch angles later. Like I say, we'll get it correct, but because I'm talking, I'm probably going to mess a bit of this up, so please bear with. But I am trying my very best. Yeah, I've messed up a bit there. It's alright. I'll sort it. Oh, it gives me it's a good learning opportunity. Right, I'm going to put this there. There. So again, I'm going to end this just off the end. Might actually need to put a, just get another one around it. Yeah, so look, let me zoom in. I'm just a couple of mil further on, and I'll bang another node there. We may have to clean this up in a minute, but I'm just trying to get around this corner here to really end on a nice straight section there. I'll clean that up in a sec. So hit enter. There we go. I'm going to clean up that end in a minute. Don't worry about it. Right, object selection, or O on your keyboard. Let's go into the satin. Auto spacing off, auto split off. This 0.18, flying through it. Lovely. There we go. Nearly there. So I've created the S. I've made the gap a tiny bit bigger there, just so it's a bit more visible. And it's actually not looking too bad. It's not looking too bad at all. Let's just clean up this edge here. So H or reshape tool up there. I actually want this to be a straight finish there. So we're going to drag that around a bit more. There's a lot of angles going on here, so you can just select, if there's sort of too many angles going on here, you can select the angle there, delete as appropriate. So that just takes that node out. We've got a lot of nodes and things going on here, so let's actually just come in, delete one of them. There we go. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. A couple of short stitches, but I think we'll be fine. I'll go through and clean all this up quickly. Right, back to object selection, or O on your keyboards. Once again, you're gonna Control C, Control V, create a copy of that S. Up here to Motif fill, select Motif fill. Your settings should be the same as they were on the A. Job done. Now I like to leave, for the minute, I like to leave letters in different colours. I always digitize like this, so it's easy to edit. Because what I actually want to do is, just looking at this, select the S. Just using my arrow keys, I'm just going to jump this along 2 or 3 spaces. The reason why is because this is obviously going to be 3D foam. I want a bit more of a gap here to actually be able to pull the foam out. You know, if you've got a tiny little gap, it's going to be a real bugger to get the foam out. So let's just make the gap between the A and the S just marginally bigger, but not enough that by eye it's noticeable. Okay, so just making these little adjustments to make this a much more pleasurable experience to embroider, but not enough that we've completely distorted and ruined the AS Colour logo. So there we go. Because I've done that, what I'm going to do is going to come in, I'm going to unlock that. I could actually just delete that image now. You can either hide it or delete it, but because it's sticking out behind, it's bugging me, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. So there we have it. The next thing to do is just double check your auto start and ends, so that's all perfect. You can also run through a stitch player and view exactly what we've just done. This way you'll catch any trims or any errors in your work. I'm not sure how the screen recording is going to handle this, but it will just whip through. And here we go, all the way around. No trim, straight into the motif fill, beautiful, straight into that, again all the way round, no trims in this one either. Actually, yes, there is there. I'm going to just change. So with that, I just need to change the start and end points of the motif on the S. So we'll drag that up to there and we'll have that finished somewhere around there. Now there's no trims in the S either. So there we have it. So now that's ready to export. Let's now change that colour to black as well. And now obviously everything's under one colour channel and you are set to go. So let's get this one on the machine and see how it comes out. We go, 3D embroidered motif logo on hats. That's how it's done. I did drop AS Colour an email and say, look, I'm thinking of filming this video on the hats that we created for you. Do you mind? So they were happy for me to use their lovely logo and make this video and show you exactly how we created that product for them. I also asked them if they would be happy for me to share this logo with you guys, and they said yes. So if you want a copy of this DST file and ENB file that we have literally just created together on this video, I can send you that. Find us on Instagram at SqueezedOrange, drop me a DM with your email address and I can then email you this logo. The one request AS Colour did have is, if you are testing this logo, please be sensible with it and don't put it on any old product. Please put it on AS Colour products or, you know, scraps, offcuts, cotton twill, whatever. But it is AS Colour intellectual property. They did say put it on an AS Colour garment. That would be lovely. The hat of choice for today's video, and actually one of my previous videos about sewing on patches, is the AS Colour two-tone hat. I really like these hats. We are doing loads of these hats. Just personally with our work here, our sort of 9 to 5 work here in the print shop, this hat is quickly becoming a favourite with our clients and I like it. It is a very, very nice hat. Not too deep. Very nicely constructed, super solid, 5 panel, so we got no seams in the way. So yeah, not sponsored by AS Colour, not being paid to say any of this stuff. Obviously, we're way too new of a channel for any of that stuff, but this is just a hat that we use quite a bit with our normal 9 to 5 work in this print shop, the AS Colour two-tone hat. So check that out. Drop me an email if you want a copy of this file. I'm Darren from Squeezed Orange Print Shop, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.